Yesterday, news broke and people posted following some now deleted posts from Martel Holt as it relates to his ex-wife, Melody Holt, and several interviews she has been doing recently, as well as the reason why early January of this year he wasn't filming with her, and in particular why he wasn't able to see his children for 56 days. Whatever the reason or whatever happened, we didn't know. All we knew at the time was that Melody made a post, what I would call a cryptic post on Instagram, where she talked about people coming for her and being blessed by God and so on. I'm sure you all can go back and see that post. There wasn't any allegation being made. There wasn't any name calling. She put a post, and from that post, us YouTubers gathered that something is happening. And then later in the year, Martel put out a post where he talks about seeing his kids after 56 days, not able to see his kids because of lies. And we still didn't know what took place until yesterday. Yesterday, he put a series of posts and called out his ex-wife and talked about what transpired that led to him not seeing his children for 56 days. And so today I want to discuss this topic because it's very annoying. It's very disturbing. And so I entitled this, Martel Holt is a Dangerous Person. And I will list the reasons why. So far, I have 4 reasons. And I'm sure us YouTubers can come up with other reasons. But the 4 that I see that are so glaring that I believe, had he seen them, he would not have put that post. And which is why I support, or I believe, is the reason why those posts have now been deleted. But the thing with internet is, well, you post something, people screenshot it and read it and see what you're saying and critique it and put it back out there for the world to see, which at times is good, but in his case is terrible. And so here I have a picture of Martel and his beautiful family that he destroyed because of his own selfishness. And now it seems to be that he's bitter. So the 4 reasons. I start with the first. The first reason I have here is he's undermining the duty of reporting child abuse or suspected child abuse and or neglect. The second reason, homophobia. Third reason, he's disrespecting the court system where minors are concerned, given there is a custody case pending before the court. And the fourth reason, violating Tanks, his own son, right to privacy. In this commentary that I'm going to do now, I'll be looking at the laws in Alabama, as well as having a discussion so that people could appreciate the importance of reporting and understand that based on what he put in his post, what his ex-wife did in making a report to her attorney, as he stated, whether or not she was within the law to do that, whether or not there was a duty on her to do that. And so that we can all learn from the legal perspective based on the legislation that I will be showing what is a duty, what duty we have when it comes to any suspected case of abuse. And so we'll focus solely in this video on the first reason, and then the other reasons will be dealt with in subsequent videos. And so I start. For those of you who might, just be curious, the focus of this video is we're going to look at the Code of Alabama, Title 26, Chapter 14, which deals with reporting of child abuse or neglect. And so, what is abuse? We might take it for granted that we all know what is abuse, but what is the legal definition of abuse? It says here, For the purpose of this chapter, the following terms shall have the meanings respectively ascribed to them by this section. So it goes on and it defines abuse. And it says, abuse, harm or threatened harm to a child's health or welfare. Harm or threatened harm to a child's health or welfare can occur through non-accidental physical or mental injury, sexual abuse or attempted sexual abuse, or sexual exploitation or attempted sexual exploitation. Sexual abuse, and then it goes on to say what sexual abuse deals with. And because of the allegation that Martel spoke about didn't deal with sexual abuse, we will not focus on that now. But it is there for those of you who would like to see and read about it and equip yourself with that knowledge. You can always go on the internet where I went and find the Code of Alabama that deals with that. So now when it comes to neglect, it says neglect is negligent treatment or maltreatment of a child, including the failure to provide adequate food, medical treatment, supervision, clothing, or shelter. And then it goes on to define what is a child. Let's not take anything for granted. A child, either of the following: a person under the age of 18 years. That's A. B, a person under the age of 19 years who is in need of protective services and does not qualify for adult protective services under Chapter 9 of Title 38. And then it goes on to define duly constituted authority, because when it comes to case of abuse, there is a duly constituted authority. So those persons who have a duty and responsibility to investigate, to ensure that whatever allegation is before the Human Services or Human Resources, Department of Human Resources and the police, that they are the authority, they are the responsible body. So it says, duly constituted authority, the chief of police of a municipality and the county, or the sheriff, if the observation of child abuse or neglect is made in an unincorporated territory, or the Department of Human Resources, or any person, organization, corporation, group, or agency authorized and designated by the Department of Human Resources to receive reports of child abuse and neglect, provided that a duly constituted authority shall not include any agency involved in the acts or omissions of the reported child abuse or neglect. Key here, I want to point out that one of the duly constituted authority, it says, or any person. I'm sure you all are able to see that on my computer screen. My apologies for that. I didn't know there was something on the computer screen. You look here, you see it says duly constituted. It says, or any person, which means when you look at or any person here, this word, or any person, that or any person is a mother, a father, an aunt, a neighbor, a close friend, an enemy, just any person who has reason to believe or suspect or receive a report from a child or see something on a child to have them to suspect that there is a case of child abuse being taking place. You have a duty to act. So what Melody did, she was based on this here, duly constituted authority, she fell in the category of any person. And there is a duty to act, there is a duty to report. And I will go down now and show you who have that duty to report, because it's no easy thing. This is not a light situation. And as you can see on the screen, section 26 from chapter 14 to 3, mandatory reporting. And when you see the word mandatory, that means you have to report. You have a duty to report, because guess what? If you don't report, you can be held liable. That is how serious reporting suspected cases, reported cases of child abuse. It's not a light thing. And so what Martel did yesterday when he put that post out there to make it seem as though, oh, the public should not like Melody because she reported to her attorney based on what she observed on her child or based on what her child more or less told her. Melody had a duty to act. It's no light feat. Hence the reason why I decided, let me do this commentary, because people, the public, we all need to understand how serious this thing is serious. And so for me to read, it says, all, and note the word all, not some, not one, not most, all hospitals, clinics, sanitariums, doctors, physicians, surgeons, medical examiners, coroners, dentists, osteopaths, optometrists, chiropractors, podiatrists, physical therapists, nurses, public and private, K-12 employees, school teachers and officials, peacekeepers, law enforcement officials, pharmacists, social workers, daycare workers or employees, mental health professionals, employee of public and private institutions, of post-secondary and higher education, member of the clergy as defined in Rule 505 of the Alabama Rules of Evidence, or any other persons called upon to render aid or medical assistance to any child when the child is known or suspected to be the victim of child abuse or neglect. Let me read it again. It says, or any person called upon to render aid or medical assistance to any child when the child is known or suspected to be a victim of child abuse or neglect shall be required to report orally, either by telephone or direct communication immediately, and shall be followed by a written report to a duly constituted authority. So I ask, what foolishness Martel is telling us? Why is it that this man seems to think that we're foolish, that we don't affay ourselves with the law, that we are not educated enough to open the law, search the law, and read these things for ourselves? But the reason why I'm doing this today is to help everyone, to help other persons who may not be in a position to research the law, who may not be in a position to find out these things. You could watch the YouTube video. You could learn something. So it's a teachable moment. So we're all here to learn. I am learning myself. I learned when I had to do the research. I had no knowledge of the laws. So I researched. And I specifically type in when it comes to the code for Alabama. And I will say this, it might not be Alabama, it might be Washington, D.C., it might be New York, New Jersey, any state. You go online, you research it, and you find out, because there is a duty. And so what Martel is saying is taking us for a ride. Melody had a duty to report. Whatever it is that was said to her, something was said to her, whatever it is she saw that led her to the belief, to the genuine belief, a good faith belief, you know what? That, hey, my child is being abused. Or I suspect that my child is being abused. And so she had a duty to report. This is no light matter. This is a serious matter. Martel is wanting to make it seem as though because he's all up in his feelings that it is a light matter, but it is not. I kid you not. It is not a light matter. And then if you look here at B subsection 1, it says, when it tells you now what happens when there is an initial report. Remember, Martel claims, oh, he wasn't able to see his kids for 56 days. He didn't say why. All he told us is, well, Melody, make us believe that Melody held the children from him for 56 days. Okay. So what this is saying here, B1, when an initial report is made to a law enforcement official, the official subsequently shall inform the Department of Human Resources of the report so that the department can carry out its responsibility to provide protective services when deemed appropriate to the respective child or children. And it says here at 2, as soon as is practicable, after a report of known or suspected child abuse or neglect is made, the Department of Human Resources shall make efforts. I'm adding more there. My apologies. Shall make efforts to determine the military status of the parent or guardian of the child who is the subject of the child abuse or neglect allegations. And it goes on. If the Department of Human Resources determines that a parent or guardian under subdivision 2 is in the military, the department shall notify a United States Department of Defense Family Advocacy Program. So it goes on to explain the different categories where you might find a parent in. If it's a military parent, then it says what ought to take place. And it goes on to talk about the resources at C, where it says, when the Department of Human Resources receives initial reports of suspected abuse or neglect, as defined in Section 26, Title 20, Section 26.14.1, including suspected abuse or neglect involving discipline or corporal punishment committed in a public or private school, or suspected abuse or neglect in a state-operated child residential facility. So here it is going to tell you now what Department of Human Resources ought to do when this report is emanating from a school environment, from a protective environment of residential facility. So it's not just where it's suspected to be happening in the home. It goes further. It is very elaborate. And so what Martel is trying to make us feel as though Mel did something wrong when she made that report, he is gaslighting us. He's taking us for a ride, making it seem as though we will not research these things. And it's dangerous because people might be there and mothers might be there in similar situation and say, well, I don't want to make any report. No, ma'am. No, sir. No, teacher. You have a duty to report. You have a duty to report. And if you fail to exercise that duty, there are repercussions. And I will get to that later. So when we say, who else has a duty to report? Remember above I explained the different organizations and persons, the doctor, the dentist, the optometrists and psychiatrists and all those good people who have a duty to report. No, it says permissive reporting. So it says here, in addition to those persons, firms, corporations, and officials required by Section 26.14.3 to report child abuse and neglect, any person may make such a report if such person has reasonable cause to suspect that a child is being abused or neglected. And I'll read it again, because I want us all to appreciate the importance of this, to understand the foolishness that Martel is telling us and want us to believe that Melody did something wrong when she called her attorney instead of calling him. Imagine that. This man is so funny. Any person may make such a report if such person has reasonable cause to suspect that a child is being abused or neglected. Any person. So a mother can make that report. A father can make that report. A neighbor, your enemy, if they have reasonable cause to suspect that child is being abused, they have a duty to make that report. And as I go further down, you are going to see the procedure, because it's no light stuff. It's not, okay, get on the phone, call your attorney, make a report. No, 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 no. It's not a simple matter, oh, I just go and make a report and that's it. I made a report. No, 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 no. There is what we call due process. And it says due process rights for persons under investigation by department. So in this area, it's dealing now with what the procedure is. The due process having to do with the person who the report is being made against. So in this case, Martel, he himself is protected. He himself has due process. And so the Department of Human Resources would have gone through that to let him know his rights, to let him know of the investigation they're doing, to let him know that he has what he has to do. He has right to legal representation. And it goes on and on and on. So it's not that our investigation was being done and Martel was in the dark. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know anything that was going on. So this 56 days he's raving about, he knew what was happening. He would have been contacted. He would have told that there was an allegation against him. He would have been told who is the alleged, who is the person that made the allegation against him. He would have known this information. He would have known all this. And then he posted and put it out there as if Melody took the children away from him for 56 days. Tell me something. Isn't it that he didn't think we were going to research these things for ourselves? He think we're so foolish that, like the other one over there who keeps putting on lip gloss day in, day out, that we will not research for ourselves? No, 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 boo. Fool don't reside over here. You can't play us. We do our homework. Because at the end of the day, those innocent children are the ones paying the price for your wrongdoing, for your selfish behavior. And now you want to turn it and say that Melody is the wrong one. Melody is the one that did something wrong. What did Melody do other than being a good wife to you? Other than trying to make her family remain intact? Other than dealing with the onslaught of abuse and verbal abuse by you and the lip gloss lady? What did she do? Why is she being penalized like this? And are we as women and men to sit back and just watch you do it? Nope, not here, not today. Don't do that. We're not going to sit idly by while you try to tarnish Mel for doing something that the law says she has a duty to do. Not today, Martel. Not today. Further, people, if you look at section 26.14.7, it says duties of the Department of Human Resources. And this is where now it tells you what is the duty of the Department of Human Resources when they receive that report. It says the state or county Department of Human Resources shall, which means they must do it, shall make a thorough investigation promptly upon either the oral or written report. The primary purpose of such an investigation shall be the protection of the child. This is no small feat. That report that was made was not just a report to say, a report, leave it there. I'll go do something else and I'll come back to it. No, 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 no. The mandatory words in this piece of legislation is really there to protect children, and it is doing that. And so that 56 days, what was happening during that 56 days was the protection of those children, in particular the one who said or who showed evidence of something to cause the mother, who falls into the category of any person, to make a report to, according to Martel, her attorney doing what he is bound to do, further up that report. And so now you have the Department of Human Resources doing what they are mandated by law to do. B, the investigation to the extent that is reasonably possible shall include, and this will tell you now, the extent of the investigation. It's no willy-nilly investigation. It's no, hi, morning, Mr. Holt. How are you doing, sir? I like to see your muscles, sir. But, sir, did you do anything to your child? And then that's the end of it. I'm just role playing there. It says 1, the nature, extent, and cause of the child abuse or neglect. 2, the identity of the person responsible therefore. And in this case, based on what Martel put out, he's the person that he is alleged to be responsible. 3, the names and conditions of the other children in the home. Remember, Martin and Melody have 4 children. So they, even though the report, based on what Martel said, came from Tank, they would have also looked at the other 3 children. So Sugar Mama, Boss Baby, as well as the older child, the older girl, would have been looked at. And then 4, it says an evaluation of the parents or person responsible for the care of the child. So that means they would have done evaluation on Melody as well as on Martel. The home environment and the relationship of the child or children to the parents or other persons responsible for their care. So that means Melody would have called her attorney, made this report, attorney did what he was supposed to do, and then Melody herself would have been subject to an investigation, a home environment investigation. Why would somebody put themselves in that position just because they want to get back at you, just because they want to be flippant and be irresponsible? More than likely, Melody, not more than likely, Melody believed what her child was saying to her if he said something to her, or believe what she saw if she saw something on him that gave rise to her to believe that either he's being abused or she suspect that he was being abused. And she exercised her duty that the law says she has to exercise. And she made a report. So she was being a responsible parent. And for being a responsible parent, she's been called out by her ex-husband. We cannot tolerate this. We ought not to tolerate this. It says 5, the home environment and the relationship of the child or children to the parents and other parents responsible for their care, and all other data deemed pertinent. The investigation may include a visit to the child's home, an interview with the subject child, and may include a physical, psychological, or psychiatric examination of any child or children in that home. If the admission to the home, school, or any other place that the child may be, or permission of the parent, or other persons responsible for the child or children, further physical, psychological, or psychiatric examination cannot be obtained, then a court of competent jurisdiction upon cause shown shall order the parents or persons responsible and in charge of any place where the child may be to allow the interview, examinations, and investigation. If before the examination is complete, the opinion of the investigators is that the immediate removal is necessary to protect a child or children from further abuse or neglect. A court of competent jurisdiction, on petition by the investigators, in this case the Department of Human Resources, and with good cause being shown, shall issue an order for temporary removal and custody. The County Department of Human Resources shall make a complete written report of the investigation together with all its recommendations. What Martel take us for? Really? He thinks we just sit around all day putting on lip gloss like someone else? No, we research these things. So let me tell you this. What happens if a person failed to make a report of abuse or suspected abuse? So what happened in this case, Martel is ranting and raving because Melody called her attorney. Instead of calling him, the audacity calling him. He's funny. So it says here, Section 26:14-13 says, penalty for failure to make required report. Any person who shall knowingly fail to make the report required by this chapter shall be guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be punished by a sentence of not more than 6 months imprisonment or a fine of not more than $500. So people, if Melody never made that report where she believed her child is being abused or suspected that her child is being abused, then she would have put herself in a position where she could have been imprisoned for 6 months or having to pay a fine of $500 because it is a misdemeanor. What it is that Martel Holt is trying to do? Why is it that this man feels that he's being cute in putting those kind of posts and believe that because he removed it, he's absolved from something? Martel Holt, you need to stop. You already abuse your wife emotionally by your 7-year relationship with someone who does not seem to know what it is to take accountability for her actions. And now you want to slander Melody? And you think people would sit by knowing what we've seen on your show, knowing all that we've seen you displayed on social media, and not say something? Martel Holt is a dangerous person. He is a dangerous person. So that is it I have for reason 1. I will upload other videos talking about reason 2, reason 3, and reason 4 from the perspective of what the laws, the codes is dealing with. How the law defines certain terms so that we can all educate ourselves, so that if we see or suspect that a child is being abused, our neighbor's child, our enemy's child, or just a child, someone is being abused, that we act, that we do what needs to be done. Let's all be our brother's keepers. And so, let's get legit. Let's all get legit and understand these things. And so I ask you all to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It's a new channel. We're trying to grow. And because we'll be putting out these kinds of content from the perspective of what we research on the different legislation. For those of you who are busy living your life, busy going about your day and not able to do these kind of research, we're here. We're going to do it for you, and you can listen to us. But, you know, if you always want to know when we're uploading new items or when we go live, hit that subscription button so that you could be part of our community. Let's all help each other. Bye.